Council. Peace, nonviolence, and harmony are some of the principles and ideals that Mahatma Gandhi adhered to. MGPC, Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council, was founded to promote education in principles and ideals of Mahatma Gandhi. The council was founded in 2006 and incorporated as a nonprofit organization in 2009 with Industry Canada. And in 2010, it became a charitable organization under Canada Revenue Agency, CRA. MGPC has been working very closely with Carleton University, and in line with its educational endeavors and objectives, in 2009, MGPC established an endowed lecture at the College of Humanity in Carleton University called Annual M.K. Gandhi Lecture on Peace and Harmony. MGPC also takes an active role in community services. Last year, in fact, it raised $12,000 for COVID relief activities of Ekta Parishad in India. This year, it partnered with another organization called Helping Hands Driven by Youth in raising funds for Cornerstone, a women's shelter in Ottawa. These are just some examples of the kind of activities that MGPC undertakes and is in line with its objectives. Now, a brief layout of today's program, which will start with a video segment from Garlanding ceremony of Mahatma Gandhi's statue, followed by some remarks from our esteemed guests. It will then be followed by the main event of the morning, which is the lecture by Jaya ji, and which will be followed by a question and answer session with her. As we have all become accustomed to this wonderful technology called Zoom, from time to time, there can be technical glitches. So I request you to be patient, and I'm sure that our tech-savvy team is going to run things smoothly today. You're all going to be muted by default to allow for uninterrupted delivery from our speakers. And also, if you have any questions or concerns during the course of this lecture, you can send a text to me via the chat function of the Zoom. And it's the same thing that you can do during the course of the lecture, that is send me a text to Dinesh Mohan, as you can see one of the options in the chat, if you want to put any questions forward to Jaya ji following the discourse. As I mentioned earlier, the council has been very active and working hard. In 2011, it requested and received from Government of India a life-size statue of Gandhi ji, which is installed at Carleton University. Every year on Gandhi Jayanti, a garlanding ceremony is organized, and this was marked yesterday. Again, a beautiful ceremony, and that was an in-person event. We'll now play a video with some segments from that ceremony for you. My special thanks to Mr. Anil Agarwal, who is also a founding member, for his gracious help with the compilation of this video segment. We'll now play the video segment.
ईश्वर अल्लाह तेरो नाम, सबको सन्मति दे भगवान। ईश्वर अल्लाह तेरो नाम, सबको सन्मति दे भगवान। रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। 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 कोरस में थोड़ा जोर से सब लोग गा सकते हैं।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. I'm really glad that the weather cooperated yesterday to allow for this gorgeous garlanding ceremony. And thank you all those that were able to make it to this in-person event yesterday, as well as those that organized it. I would now like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Manish to say a few words. His Excellency is officiating as the Acting High Commissioner of India to Canada since 14th of September 2022 and has been a career diplomat for more than 25 years. He has worked in various capacities in several Indian missions and posts abroad, such as Moscow, Tashkent, Prague, Colombo, and Jakarta, and more recently as the Consul General of India in Vancouver. He has rich experience in handling different aspects of the diplomatic relationships, such as political, cultural, commercial, and economic, and press and information, etc. So over to you, Mr. Manish.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Dinesh Mohan, for that elaborate introduction. First, I would like to bring greetings on the occasion of Mahatma Gandhi ji's Jayanti today. And today is also people all over the country in India, all the Indian diaspora in Canada, and Indians abroad are celebrating Ram Navami. So my best wishes to everyone who is watching this live telecast. A very happy Dasara. May Goddesses Durga bring peace, prosperity, and harmony to all of us. Thank Mr. Dinesh Mohan, President of Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council, Dr. Rosiana Runte, President and CEO of Canada Foundation and Innovation, our speaker and chief guest for this afternoon for her talk on the Jaya Row, Miss Jaya Row, who is joining us from India, founder of Vedanta Trust. A very warm welcome to everybody and all the viewers and board members of the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council who has joined this for the annual lecture series for the day today. 2nd October, as you all know, is the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi ji, and in the United Nations also in 2007 has declared today as International Day of Non-Violence. It is befitting for the stature of this towering personality, the great humanist leader of India who led from the front and experimented his principles and teachings of non-violence in course of his struggle for making India free from the colonial rules. And it is befitting that United Nations and the whole world is celebrating today as the International Day of Non-Violence. And this particular aspect of declaring it as a day of non-violence was to create awareness and disseminate the message of non-violence, including through education and public awareness. So it is a a great feeling that people in Ottawa, the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council is promoting this very objective of international on this International Day of Non-Violence by creating public awareness and through this their lecture series. The resolution reaffirms the universal relevance of the principle of nonviolence and the desire to secure a culture of peace, tolerance, understanding, and nonviolence. In fact, 140 countries co-sponsored the resolution, which India introduced in 2007. And as you all know, Mahatma Gandhi ji transcends the bounds of race, religion, nation states, and his prophetic voice of the 21st, and he has emerged the prophetic voice in the 21st century. The world remembers Gandhiji not just for his passionate adherence to the practice of non-violence and the supreme humanism, but it is also a benchmark against which we test the men and women in public life for their political ideas and government policies and hopes and wishes of the shared planet. So as life and leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, everyone of us who has joined here knows about it, and we'll hear from our chief guest here today about peace in the piecemeal world. But suffices to say that he still continues to inspire us in this era of disruptive global world, and his principles of non-violent, his support to civil rights and liberty of people is still relevant today. So he not only espoused the cause of non-violence, but he himself practiced what he professed in theory by conducting several civil disobedience movement against the British Raj. And we all know about the historic Salt March of 1930, as well as the civil disobedience movement, which led to the independence of India. And it is very befitting to remember him, his principles and ideals in this year, especially when we are celebrating 75th anniversaries of India's independence, and we are celebrating the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So I would like to say that as bureaucrats, as common people, we should not just remember Gandhiji on this week of running up to his birth anniversary, but it is incumbent on us that we should follow his principles and ideals throughout our work, our life, as well as to contribute to the peace and prosperity of in whatever way we can do to the society where we live in. So it is very heartening to see that we have this annual lecture series, M.K. Gandhi Lecture on Peace and Humanities by Carleton University, by Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council, and I am very happy that they always cooperate with us in the High Commission of India in Ottawa, and we, in our own way, can contribute to the promotion and propagation of life and teachings of Mahatma Gandhi ji. So once again, on this very auspicious day, from all my colleagues in the High Commission, I convey my deep respect to Mahatma Gandhi ji and all the viewers and listeners who have joined us today for this lecture series. And on behalf of everyone here, I once again welcome you all, and especially Ms. Jaya Row, founder Vedanta Trust. And I look forward to hearing her views on this and hope it would encourage more of Gandhian practices, Gandhian teachings, and its spread across Canada. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for giving us your valuable time and addressing us. The High Commission of India has always been a great supporter in the Council's efforts to spread and promote education in Gandhian principles and ideals. I would now like to invite Rajesh Jain, the Vice President of the Council, to introduce our speaker and lecturer this morning. Over to you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Dinesh ji, and thank you, His Excellency. We are excited and honored to have Mr. Jaya Row as the guest lecturer live from Mumbai, India. She'll be speaking to us again on the topic of peace in a piecemeal world. Jayaji will reflect on some of the teachings and values from ancient scriptures called Vedanta and relate them to Gandhian principles of peace and nonviolence. A brief intro on Jayaji. She's one of the most eminent speakers on Vedanta, the oldest management school in the world. Backed by her experience in corporate life with 40 years of research on Vedanta, she motivates her audience to live a successful inner life of peace and content by showing the wisdom of ancient scriptures and how it is relevant in today's contemporary life. She provides logical and experiential ways to relate to those teachings and not just based on philosophy and or a belief system. Jaya Row has gained her international recognition, have spoken at prestigious forums such as World Economic Forum, Davos, World Bank, Young Presidents Organization, Princeton University, Purdue University, Washington University, and others. Jayaji has been invited by organizations like Apple, Google, and Intel in California, KPMG, MasterCard, and Deutsche Bank in New York, Southern California Edison in Los Angeles, Shell in London, Stockholm School of Economics, and many more. Without further ado, I'd now like to call upon Mrs. Jaya Row to enlighten us on the topic of peace in a piecemeal world. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. The ancient masters in India took us, gave knowledge, and took us from a state of frustration to that of fulfillment, from emptiness to fullness, from sorrow and grief to the bliss and happiness of growth. And they took us, helped us grow to our full stature. This knowledge has continued through the ages, through centuries. In spite of so many changes that took place in India, so many invaders coming here, so much of destruction taking place, because our forefathers understood the value of these principles in day-to-day life. Peace is something that we all talk about, but we really don't know what it is. Like Mahatma Gandhi had said, it is easy for a person to find shanti in shanti, to find peace in peaceful surroundings. You go to the Himalayas, you'll find peace. But the beauty of a human being, the dignity of a human being lies in finding shanti in ashanti, to find shanti within, peace within, in disturbed circumstances. So, serenity is not freedom from the storm, but peace amid the storm. Peace is a concept that is common to people of all faiths. And all human beings want peace and are pursuing it. But very few people get it. Besides, we are not just talking about peace, we are talking about the combination of internal serenity with external dynamism, energy, vitality. Like Billie Jean King, when she was playing in the Wimbledon, once said, it's not about the prize money, it's not about the trophy, it's about what she called as pure action, which is intense exertion in the midst of a completely tranquil mind. And that makes for success in the external world, happiness within, and growth to your potential. So today, in these few minutes that we have, we're going to take a look at how to achieve this. Now, for this, we need to understand what causes disturbance. All of us, all over the world, are in varying degrees of mental agitation, right? What is the cause of this? The cause of this is not external. Human beings as we are designed in such a way that we are completely independent of the world. Nothing in the world has the capacity to disturb you. Only you can disturb yourself. And you're doing a terrific job of it. So, where does peace lie? Within. Because disturbance lies within. When we say within, what do we mean? Take a look at our personality. What do we consist of? There are 4 distinct components in every human being. One is the physical body. You stand before the mirror, you see your body. This is within the body, you have the internal engine that drives you to activity, which is called the mind and the intellect. The mind is the realm of emotions, feelings, impulses, loves and hates. The intellect is the abode of reason, judgment, discrimination, the ability to weigh the pros and cons and arrive at a decision. And all these, the activities of the body, mind and intellect, are enabled, empowered by the spirit in us. Now, the body, mind and intellect are so designed that the world can affect the body, mind and intellect. But the spirit in you, Atman, remains untouched, whatever you go through. So it's like this. Suppose you were to have a horseshoe magnet and you bring a piece of iron to it. What happens? It attracts. Take away the iron piece, bring a wooden piece to it. What happens? No effect. Now you do something interesting. Tie the wooden and the iron pieces together. Bring the combination to the magnet. The combination is attracted by the magnet. But even while the combination is attracted by the magnet, the wooden piece in that combination is immaculate, untouched, unaffected by the magnet. You and I are like this combination of matter, body, mind, intellect, and spirit. The world has the power to affect the body, mind, and intellect. When it's cold outside, you feel uncomfortable. When it's hot outside, you're ill at ease. The mind, when someone is nice to you, you feel good. When someone insults you, you feel depressed. Intellect also. Ideas and ideologies affect you. When someone says something that you don't agree with, you're not happy. When someone says something that you agree with, you're happy. But the spirit in you remains untouched. So now what happens is, because you have unintelligently identified with, you've fallen in love with, you have got attached to the body, mind and intellect, there is a strong bond between the matter layers and the spirit. And the world is the powerful magnet that affects the body, mind and intellect. Because of your unintelligent identification, association with the body, mind, intellect, when the world affects the body, mind, intellect, you get affected. So in this state, you can never be in peace because the world is in a constant state of flux, change. It consists of pairs of opposites and the change is unpredictable. In this condition, if you have identified with body, mind, intellect, you cannot be at peace with yourself. And when you are not at peace within yourself, you create violence, chaos, confusion externally. So, what you need to do is very simple. Just loosen the bond between the body, mind, intellect and spirit. Then what happens? Body, mind, intellect gets attracted, spirit remains untouched. Only then will you be at peace. So, The spirit has the power. Tap into your infinite resources within, and you'll overcome all kinds of barriers. You'll rise above physical limitations, emotional hang ups, and intellectual prejudices, and breathe an ethereal air that Wordsworth speaks of. Then you will be at peace. Now, in order to gain that peace, that is absolute peace. But in the world, in our daily interactions with the world, it is still possible to gain peace. How do you do that? Vedanta gives a few guidelines. And because we have very little time, we are focusing on just 3 things. 3 things you have to remember in life, and you will be at peace. Why 3? Because we have 3 instruments: the body, mind, and intellect. Now, with the body, we all go out and act, right? All of us go to work. You look at people going to work on a Monday morning in the traffic rush. Does anyone look excited, enthusiastic, invigorated? No, they are all pulling long faces. The bigger the car, the longer the face. Why? On the other hand, you take a look at Nadal playing tennis. The moment he goes out, walks onto the tennis court, there is a dynamism about him. There is an excitement, there's enthusiasm, there's a never say die attitude. What's the difference? Nadal loves tennis. Do you love what you're doing? What are you working for? Most people work for paycheck, profit. That leads to drudgery and depression. You're not enthusiastic about work. You just do the minimum work possible for your paycheck to come. But if you find excitement in what you're doing, and this has nothing to do with what you're doing. You know, where I live, I go for a walk on Marine Drive by the sea. And on my way to the seafront, I used to see a street sweeper, a municipal street sweeper sweeping the streets. Now, what can be so exciting about sweeping streets? But this guy, every morning, was full of cheer, joy, enthusiasm, and would greet every passerby and say something nice. He would remember the person, the community that person belongs to. So with a Gujarati, he would speak Gujarati, Hindi, Marathi, all kinds of languages. Say good morning to everybody. And I would ask myself, how does he find it in him to be excited every morning? Sweeping the streets. And mind you, he would do it brilliantly. So it's not what you do that gives you excitement. It is your attitude towards the work. What attitude gives peace? What attitude gives agitation? Is something we need to examine. Work with the attitude, we have a choice of working with the attitude of giving or taking. Just the attitude, please. I'm not talking about actual giving or taking. Just the attitude. Every morning when you go to work, if you go with the attitude that let me use my talent, my abilities, my skills for the well-being of my organization, for my country, whichever country you belong to. And then you gain that tremendous joy, excitement. You wake up every morning exhilarate. But if you go to work saying, oh God, I have to go to work, you do the least possible. You are not enthusiastic about work, and you're an agitated person. You're not a peaceful person. So, Find a cause to work for. Just the attitude, just the shift in the attitude makes for success. You know, Japan was devastated during the Second World War. A nuclear bomb was planted on it. What more do you want? So, but they didn't accept defeat. They pooled their resources together. Every Japanese thought of Japan first. And what a fantastic culture they built for themselves. A few years ago, there was a cover story in the Time magazine of the difference between the automobile industry of the US and Japan. And one very relevant point they brought out was, for every car that is manufactured in Japan, they spend something like $700 less per car for repairs during the warranty period. You might think, what is $700? But multiply that by the number of cars manufactured and it is a huge amount. What makes for that difference? Every guy on the shop floor manufacturing cars in Japan thinks of Japan first, not me. And that is the difference. The attitude of giving gives success. The attitude of giving gives happiness. Go to a kindergarten school and watch two kids. One little kid says, my father went to Delhi and got a delicious sweet from there. You want it? Have it. Try it. The child has a smile on the face. Another child says, even before anybody asks, says, no, it's mine. Watch the expression on the face. Frown. Just entertain the thought of giving. You don't even have to give anything. And you are happy. Think of grabbing that moment you are impoverished. You are unhappy. This is a law. I haven't created it. I've learned it, that's all. So, if you want to be successful, if you want to be happy, you have no choice but to cultivate the attitude of giving. And how does this attitude of giving come? How do you cultivate? Be aware of the abundance that has been bestowed on you. Only then you can think of giving, right? You might say, oh, but I don't have enough. Everybody says that. I don't have enough money, so I will work for it. I don't have a luxurious car, so I will work to be able to afford it. I don't have enough money for my retirement, so I will work. Everyone works with the attitude of taking because they feel deficient. They lack self-sufficiency. And this has nothing to do with what you have. Sudama in our culture, Krishna's dear friend, lived his entire life in poverty, but his mind was in a state of abundance. How do we know that? When he was sent on an express mission to ask Krishna for help, he only thinks of giving. He comes back to his wife and says, but I'm meeting my dear friend after so many years. How can I go empty-handed? This concept that you can't go khali haath anywhere is a fantastic idea. So his wife, they have nothing at home. His wife has to borrow poha from the neighbor. And she makes it and gives it in a little bundle. Little bit. And he goes to meet Krishna. Krishna says, Sudama, haven't you brought anything for me? Sudama gives it to him. They sit together, they're old childhood friends. They sit together and laugh and talk about the old times. And Sudama leaves without asking. This is the most amazing thing. It's not that he forgot. It was just not in his DNA to ask for anything. Why? Because he felt abundant. Where is this? And where is Howard Hughes, one time richest man in the world, his mind was in a state of poverty. So develop this self-sufficiency. And then you gain power. You're happy. Right? Second principle. Incidentally, the law is give, you gain. Grab, you lose. If you don't believe me, look at all the people in the world who are successful. They have the attitude of giving. Second principle, with the emotion, you have the choice of looking at people with affection, oneness, love, or a sense of separateness. That you are different from me. And this makes for the second principle that Gandhiji worked on, and that is ahimsa, non-violence. When you feel when you feel a sense of separateness, you look at everybody as an opponent, not partner. You look at people as competitors, not collaborators. You look at your own people as enemies and not friends. And that, friends, is the cause of all the bitterness and hatred and enmity and wars in the world. From time immemorial, we have been fighting each other, killing each other. When the truth is, there are no enemies outside. All the enemies are within you. Somebody asked Ramana Maharshi, how do you deal with others? His answer was classic. He said, there are no others. So where is the question? When you look at people as part of yourself, how can you be cruel to them? So himsa doesn't come into the picture at all. It's a very powerful tool, love. If you have a pet dog at home and you invite friends over, the first friend who comes in is a dog lover. Now he may not even know that you have a dog, right? He enters the home and your dog wags his tail furiously, goes towards your friend, jumps on him, licks him, showers him with love. Second friend comes. He's afraid of dogs. The same dog that greeted your first friend with love and affection now growls, snarls, goes menacingly towards your friend, barks, and that poor friend who's already afraid gets a heart attack. What's the difference? Here is just a dog, but the dog can sense here is a person with love, here is a person with fear, separateness, otherness. How do you go out into the world? Do you go out into the world with a feeling of oneness? Then you will attract that. Everyone will like you, everyone will be fond of you, everyone will cooperate with you, everyone will go beyond the call of duty to do things for you, like the dog. But if you go out into the world with despise, hatred, and repulsion for people, you will get the same thing back. People will bark at you, snarl at you, growl at you. Then don't say nobody loves you, everybody hates you. Because you are the cause of all this. So, change. Now, how do you change? Find a common chord. You know, in Mumbai, Pune, our cities close to each other. And there was a time when I had to travel to Pune frequently. And as you all know, India is full of people everywhere. So it wasn't easy to get a ticket. Often I had to stand in the train. And I noticed, because I traveled often, there are people who go daily up and down. There was a lady, fairly well-built, who occupied her. See, there are benches, and each bench can accommodate 3 people. But if you squeeze in, you can put in a fourth person. So this lady would spread herself out and refuse to allow anybody to sit, the fourth person to sit on her bench. One day, she heard Bengali being spoken somewhere near the door. And she came alive. She pushed the other two ladies in a corner and called that lady there, Esho, Esho in Bengali, and made room for a fourth person, made that person sit there. What's the difference? She felt one with the Bengali because she was also Bengali. Whoever you feel one with, you stretch to accommodate that person. You feel for that person. So, how do you find a common chord? Say, we are both, let's say, residents of the same city. We both work for the same organization. We belong to the same community. We are all Indians. Go a step further. We are all human beings. We feel the same. When someone hurts you, you feel bad, irrespective of the language you speak, the religion you follow, or the race, or the color of your skin. When you find that common chord, then it's a totally different feeling. Where there is love, you build powerful teams. These teams work together and achieve the impossible. That's what happened in the independence movement. Gandhiji and a few of the leaders felt one with 300 million Indians. That was our population then. So when they went out and spoke, it's like when a foreign minister goes out and speaks, there is power because he represents 1.3 billion Indians. Similarly, at that time, when they went and spoke for independence, they were speaking on behalf of 300 million Indians. There were Indians from every nook and corner of the country that left what they were doing and joined the independence movement. This is what gave us power. If Gandhiji had gone alone, they would have put him in jail and finished him off. That's it. But it is this collective effort that had power. So you build powerful teams. Every member sacrifices for the common goal, for the country. And then you achieve the impossible. Love makes for happiness. See, this achieving the impossible is what Shivaji Maharaj lived. He treated his people with love. Every warrior in his army was like a brother to him. And one of his trusted lieutenants was a man called Tanaji. When the Mughals had captured a fort close to Pune, Shivaji's mother, who was the strategic thinker, called Shivaji and said, we must get that fort back. Shivaji couldn't think of another person but Tanaji because nobody else could do it. The Mughals had captured it and had fortified it. Tanaji at that time was preparing for his son's wedding. When he got the summons from Shivaji, he dropped everything and ran. Shivaji told him, we must get this fort. It wasn't easy. He had only 50 people. And as I said, the Mughals had fortified the place. So the only opportunity he had is that there on the other side of the fort was a sheer precipice. And no one could go up there, so that was not protected by the Mughals. So he took a mountain lizard, tied a rope around it. The lizard has vacuum pads. Threw it up, and with the help of that lizard and the rope, he and 50 of his people went up, took the Mughals by surprise, and captured the fort. But in the battle, both Tanaji and the Mughal chief lost their lives. And when word went back to Shivaji, he was heartbroken. And he made the famous statement, Gad ala Pan Sima Gela means we've got the fort, but we lost the lion. Ever since then, that fort, he renamed it Simagad. Even today, it is called Simagad. This would not be possible if there wasn't that love between them. So, wherever there is love, you're happy. Love makes for success, love makes for happiness. And you grow into a towering personality. This is why Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, you can't hate Duryodhana. See, the moment you hate someone, it doesn't do any harm to the other person, but it sure as hell kills you. Because your mind is agitated, you're not at peace with yourself, you can't think straight, and your actions are flawed. So, wherever you hate, see, if you want to improve, if you want to become a better person, pick the person you dislike most and work towards first understanding. Understanding the nature of the person. Yes, the person has some bad qualities, but so do you. That doesn't make for hatred. And even if the person is evil, there is no reason to hate. In the animal world, animal lovers love all animals. They don't just love the pup and the kitten. In India, there are wells in villages which don't have walls. So when leopards run, they don't know the well is there. They fall into the well and die. So a man made it his mission to save leopards from dying. And that's not easy. You can't go to the leopard and say, hold my hand. He'll probably chew your hand first. He had to anesthetize the leopard, pull it up, and before it regained consciousness, get the hell out of there. He saved so many leopards this way. Now, this guy who saves the lives of leopards doesn't wait there for the leopard to express gratitude. The leopard is incapable of saying thank you, incapable of knowing what this man has done for it. And yet, this man saves leopards. So, if the man can't hate the leopard, that will, given a chance, first kill the man. There is no reason for you to hate anybody in the world. The moment you hate, you are not following Gandhiji's principle. You will not be at peace with yourself. The third principle is you need to understand, before we go to the third principle, there's a beautiful poem that talks about this oneness. And the poem is a simple one taught to school children, but the message is deep. So it's about a nightingale and the glowworm. The nightingale has sung all night long, and as dawn approaches is hungry, looking for food. It spots a glowworm in the darkness. Glowworm is that which gives light in the dark, right? And is about to pounce on the glowworm. When the glowworm sees what's happening and quickly goes out of reach. The glowworm says something to the nightingale that you and I need to learn, and that is, he says, did you admire my lamp as much as I your minstrelsy? If only you admired my light as much as I admire your singing, you would abhor to do me wrong as much as I to spoil your song. For 'twas the self-same power divine taught you to sing and me to shine, that you with music and I with light might beautify and cheer the night. So we all have our respective skills, we all have our pluses and minuses, but if we were to live like what the glowworm talks about, admire the good qualities in everyone and work as one team, understanding that you have something that I don't have, I have something that you don't have. But together, we make a fantastic team. The third thing that we need to follow is understand in the world that everything is temporary passing, fleeting. Nothing is permanent in life. So, with this understanding, what happens? You go out into the world, you interact with the world, you enjoy the world, you live life to the fullest, with one big difference, and that is you don't expect the world to be anything in the world to be permanent. So you say, yes, good things have come to me, but they will go. Bad things come, COVID comes. Right through the COVID crisis, there is that resilience in the Indian psyche that says, I'll live through it. And someday we will be free from COVID. And India has done a magnificent job. The government, the people, everybody in combating COVID. So, this thought that everything is passing, temporary, gives you that sense of objectivity. You don't get crushed by the happenings of the world. You're able to stand up to the challenges and be free from it. So, another poem about a king, and it talks about the king who has a signet ring, and on that signet ring were these words carved, even this will pass away. And the poet gives the king's experiences. He earns a lot of wealth. Trains of camel through the sand brought him gems from Samarkand. Fleets of galleys through the ships brought him pearls to rival these. But he counted little gain, treasures of the mine or main. What is wealth, the king would say, even this will pass away. Then, if you're rich and famous, whatever you say or do, people will clap, applaud. Mid the pleasures of his court, at the zenith of their sport, while the palms of all his guests burned with clapping at his jests. Said the king, our friends of mine, pleasure comes, but not to stay. Even this will pass away. Then he gets married. Who will a king like that get married to? Woman fairest ever seen was the bride he crowned as queen. And on the day of his marriage, he whispered to his soul, not to her, mortal flesh is only clay, even this will pass away. Then he gets injured, and when the soldiers are carrying him back, he says, pain is hard to bear, but with patience, day by day, even this will pass away. Then he becomes famous. They make a statue of him, 40 cubits in the air. There's a pun on in the air, because fame is all in the air. The king goes there, disguised, unknown, and gazed upon his sculptured name. And he pondered, what is fame? Fame is but a slow decay. Even this will pass away. Now, when you live your life like this, when death comes, you're able to face it with fortitude. Struck with palsy, sore and old, waiting at the gates of gold, said he with his dying breath, life is done, but what is death? And as answer to the king fell a sunbeam on his ring, showing by a heavenly ray, even this will pass away. If you live these three principles, just three, what are they? Giving, not taking. Love, not hatred. And understanding that everything in the world is permanent, not impermanent. Your mind will be at peace. In your interactions with people, you will be non-violent. You cannot bring yourself to be violent with people. And you will be established in the permanent so that nothing in the world, the passing happenings of the world will not affect you. Then, like Gandhiji, you will transform from an ordinary Atma to an extraordinary Mahatma. And it is this state that we need to work towards. Not do surface, it's like a doctor with a patient. If you give solution, you don't give the real solution, you just give symptomatic relief, the patient is never going to recover. You get to the bottom of it, diagnose the problem, and treat it. Then the patient is free. Similarly, friends, all human beings all over the world, we are all suffering because of unnecessary hang-ups within us. We don't know the basic principles of life. And it is our duty as Indians, as recipients of this magnificent knowledge, to become ambassadors of this knowledge. This is the soft power that we have.
Hello.
And this is what we can communicate to the world. So we don't need to depend on only the High Commission and the embassies of our country. Every one of us, when you leave the country, we are ambassadors of the country. We are ambassadors of this glorious Indian tradition. And we must live up to that. Right? And this is our responsibility. And when you understand this, like I said earlier, every morning you will wake up exhilarated, excited that you have one more day to live up to this Indian tradition and spread the word of peace, dynamism, happiness, and growth to the world. When we do this, it will be a true tribute to Gandhiji. It's not enough just to garland his statue. It's not enough just to speak words of praise. We must live the principles that he lived by. We must live the principles that were dear to him. Only then will we be worthy inheritors of this most glorious tradition. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayaji, for that very enlightening talk. I sure feel inspired. And if you feel inspired to learn more about a life of peace, you can join Jayaji's weekly webinars on Bhagavad Gita. The webinars are live every Saturday from 8:30 to 9:45 Eastern Time on YouTube. And you can visit vedantavision.org for further details. We'll now have 10 to 15 minutes for question and answers. Please feel free to post them on the chat, or if you've already submitted them, they will be routed through to Jayaji. Thank you again, Jayaji.
Thank you, Rajesh, and thank you so much, Jayaji. Wow, that was brilliant, thought-provoking, and enlightening. There was so much to unpack there. And as you were actually delivering the lecture, I could see a steady stream of comments and questions that were coming in, which obviously provided a lot of opportunity to those that are in attendance to reflect. And that exactly is one of the key objectives of this lecture series. I'm really glad, and thank you again for giving us so much to process. Based on some of the comments and questions that have come in, I have sort of compiled few. So I'll start with the first one. You touched upon the peace, and you also touched upon the inner peace. You talked about the body, mind, intellect, and how the spirit sort of can guide all three of those. You talked about love. And based on some of the themes in the question, there is an element that what can we do to bring peace, harmony, tolerance, and unity amongst those that are around us, especially those that might have divergent views, different from the mainstream views, and what can we do actually to, I guess, bring them along or help them in that process?
Yes. See, there was a pastor in the Midwest in the United States who one day in his Sunday sermon asked his people, he told them, he said, today I'm going to tell you something Indian. And he says, what is that? That is Indian? Hindu, he called it. He said, it is Namaste. Huh? What is this Namaste? Many Indians don't know the meaning of Namaste. He said it. He said, when you say Namaste to someone, What you are saying is that the divinity in me salutes the divinity in you. What a brilliant expression. It is true. The real meaning of it is the 5 fingers represent the panchakoshas, means the matter layers enveloping the spirit. These are necessarily different from one person to the other. But the spirit in all of us is the same. So when you are saying namaste, you are saying the, the spirit Atman in me is the same spirit in you. To that I bow down. When you look at a person, you see the body, you see different color, different community, different language, different thing, you feel different. When you identify with your mind, then immediately you experience oneness, at least within the family. Identify with the intellect, and you feel all Indians are mean. Like Gandhiji, he saw one lady who did not have a change of clothes, and he said, I will not wear proper clothes till every Indian is clothed. This is what made him a Mahatma. And you go one step further, identify with the spirit, you see no differences. So, this is the root cause of disharmony, and the solution is I go deeper within your personality, you see more and more harmony outside.
Thank you. You touched upon the second principle, which was about love and not hating others. You also talked about the teams achieving impossible when they come together. And you touched upon Gandhiji, like seeing everyone as one. And when you were talking about 300 million people, the citizens of India at that time being seen as one by Gandhiji. I guess maybe some further clarification there. What is seeing oneness? Is it rising above differences?
Yes. See, it is what you focus on that matters. If you focus on differences, like you say, I'm a Hindi speaking person, you are a Gujarati speaking person, you see differences. But the amazing thing about the Indian culture is that every 50 miles, 100 miles you go, there are differences. The language changes slightly, customs change, the food changes, everything changes. But there is an underlying feeling that we are all one because of the common culture, common traditions that bind us together. So, I travel a lot. I live in Mumbai, I go to Calcutta, for instance, Kolkata. Everything is different there. It's almost as if it's a different country. But when you see them as fellow Indians, you enjoy the diversity. You enjoy the different culture, the different food, different everything, the language. You go to the United States, it's a boring life. Wherever you go, you see the same Kentucky Fried Chicken, the same McDonald's, the same everything. You could be in a downtown of any city and it's the same everywhere. So we must understand and appreciate that diversity is part of life. But in and through that diversity, there is a unity that binds us all together. Not just as Indians, even as human beings. A man in Africa, a man in Russia, a person in the Philippines, we are all humans. We feel the same pain, we feel the same love, we feel the same aspirations. So when you go beyond national boundaries, then you really love all human beings. And that is the culture of India.
Thank you so much, Jayaji. In your profile, I guess there is a very clear mention and that you have quite a bit of experience with the corporate world. And obviously, the next question is based on some of that side of the equation. So the question is, in the corporate world, it is difficult to practice hard work without expecting results. So is there a way to overcome this?
Yes. I'm glad you asked this question because all of us, all over the world, are dissipating our energies in expecting a certain fruit. Now, what happens is, for a person to be successful, for us to be successful, 100% of the mind must be on the present action. If your mind shifts to past failures or future aspirations, then the past is dead, future is unborn. It is, you're dissipating your energies, and the present action gets flawed. It's like a tennis player at match point. Which of the two wins doesn't necessarily depend on their skills. It depends on whether the mind is in the present. A batsman at 90, those of you who still remember cricket, starts making mistakes suddenly. Why? Because till 90 he was playing beautifully. At 90 his mind shifts to how many times I have missed the 100 after reaching 90. I desperately need 100 this time. Like Virat Kohli recently. His performance dropped. I don't know why, but I'm just giving an example. So, if you want to be successful in life, the intellect must direct the mind to the present action. Find fulfillment in the present action. Give 100% of your energy and vitality to the present action. Then you are assured of success. So, this is just one principle. There are many other principles that can be applied in corporate life, one of which is you're tapping into your potential. The best corporate executive taps into barely 3-5% of his potential. So if you were to increase that to 40%, you have 3 executives in the place of 1. So the person does well, the organization does well, the whole of society does well.
Thank you, Jayaji. Looking at the time, I think I might be able to squeeze in one more question. So
Sure.
if you bear with me. So this one is going a little bit into the element of, we do understand sometimes some of these principles and ideals, but then our day-to-day life takes over and we get trapped around in that very easily. So are there some feasible ways, some pragmatic ways on a day-to-day basis to reduce our anxiety and sadness?
Yes. One very interesting thing that Krishna speaks of in the Bhagavad Gita, that Vedanta speaks of, is the fact that we seem to fall in love with sorrow. What I mean by that is, what Krishna means by that is, let's say an unpleasant thing has happened in life. You don't let go of it. You think about it over and over again. So you are reliving that sorrow from the past in the present. You post it on social media, you're talking about it to people, so all put together, it is a traumatic experience. It's like if I were to ask you to hold this glass in your hand, what would you say? Of course I can hold it. But you didn't ask for how long. Suppose I were to say hold it for an hour, you feel it. 24 hours, impossible. So that is what is happening with our anxiety and grief. If when it strikes you, yes, you suffer, but let go. Move to the next experience. And like I said, everything in the world changes. Even sorrow doesn't last for long. So it will let go of you. It will pass. It won't traumatize you. But when you refuse to let go of it, then you're depressed. Your whole life is a write-off, because one incident you have allowed to put you down. So what he says is, just let go. And that letting go is renunciation. We think renunciation is a bad word. Bad word means we have to renounce the good things of life. No. You have to give up those things that come in the way of your happiness. which is hanging on to sorrow or anxiety.
Well, thank you, Jayaji, again. That was really powerful. I'm myself taking to heart some of your messages, like keeping the mind in peace, intellect sharp, and actions brilliant. So it's a powerful mantra that I'm taking away from this, and I'm sure everyone here has had similar takeaways from the wonderful conversation. Thank you again.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of today's event. It was a privilege to witness today's invigorating discourse, and it would not have been possible without the active participation of our esteemed guests, His Excellency, Mr. Manish, and of course, Jayaji, your inspirational and powerful talk. All of you, thank you as well for joining the event and participating, because without your active participation, again, it would not have been possible. The entire team of MGPC board for having worked tirelessly behind the scenes and making this event possible. And again, like to acknowledge Mr. Anil Agarwal for his kind help. He's always there to help. And of course, again, today with the garlanding ceremony video, we saw his contribution. I'd also like to acknowledge those instrumental in establishing the Mahatma Gandhi lecture via endowment with the help of major donations by Dr. Kanta Marwa and gifts from Dr. Nishit Goyal, Dr. Jagmohan Humar, Dr. Pradeep Merchant, the late Kailash Mittal, Dr. Vasant Ruprelia, and Mr. Jakupal. And finally, a special mention to Dr. Jagmohan Humar, our founding member and a pillar of the council, whose continued guidance and active support and participation has allowed us to bring forward such events and deliver on the council's objectives. With that, goodbye, everyone, and looking forward to seeing you next time. Have a great rest of the day and a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh. That was wonderful, conducting this beautifully. And of course, Jayanti has probably left, but our heartfelt thanks to her for a powerful lecture and discourse. We will have a video recording of it that people can share, and that will be a blessing for us and for everyone who goes to Gandhi website, gandhiji.ca, and the video will be placed on that, or the recording will be placed on that for you to enjoy. Thanks everyone, my colleagues, for participating and helping this program and yesterday's program. Yesterday was beautiful as well, with a brief ceremony, and because of the space limitation, we had a fewer people, but it was very well done. Sure, you all enjoyed it, and thank you very much once again, everyone who has participated today or joined us today. Thanks for the presence. Thank you.